Kick us off.
Wonderful. So excited. Thank you, DeAndre. And thank you all for being here today. I would say I'm sure you're all feeling a mix of emotions, and you've all come here today, which is the first right step. So you're not giving up, you're fighting on, and this is one time. You can take it again, you can pass the next time. And we've got a really great program here with Legally Fit with DeAndre. And he is somebody who's helped many people pass the bar before. So I just want to introduce myself. I am Sarah Clifton. I am the Black Women Lawyers of Los Angeles Education Committee co-chair. This event is being brought to you by jointly by Black Women Lawyers of Los Angeles, as well as the John M. Langston Bar Association, and of course our wonderful Legally Fit, hosted here by DeAndre. So we are very happy to have you all here today. We're sorry to hear about your results not passing. But like I said, many people have not passed and they've gone on to pass the next time and do wonderful things. So do not let this discourage you. You came here with the right attitude today, and I'm already really proud of all of you. So I don't want to take up any more time. Just thank you on behalf of BWL and Langston. And I will turn the floor over to DeAndre from Legally Fit. Thank you all so much. And I will drop our website links in the chat during the meeting. So if you have any interest in exploring our organizations further, you can do that too. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, let me go ahead and share screen. Okay. Michael, can I get a thumbs up? Everything's good on your end. You can see that. Perfect. Let me just get rid of this. Cool. All right. So I didn't pass the bar exam. Now what? All right, so we're going to talk about these 3 steps now to Esquire. Step number 1 is pick yourself up. Step number 2 is come up with an attack plan. And step number 3 is execute and pass this test. All right, and so Elena, as I was saying, I had the metaphors for us, and we start off with Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest, right? And everybody gets knocked down on the mat, and that's going to be the first step. Is just what we see here is picking yourself up. And as we're going to talk about, this takes a different amount of time for each person. All right, so Thursday night was results day for all the California takers. For those that have gotten their results from other states, you've been sitting on your results for some time now, right? So whether you've already done this or you're in California, you're using this time to process your results, right? So definitely over this weekend and really up to 1 week to process these emotions, reconnect with your why, and make an attack plan. Now, I want to pause here for a second and talk about the importance of processing these emotions, right? And even let's say in a case like a situation like Elena, who's expressing like, I'm ready to go, right? And so I haven't talked to Elena more, and I don't know if maybe there might be some unresolved, suppressed feelings there. But what I can tell you is that there's times with certain students where you'll be in the middle of bar prep, and if those suppressed feelings aren't worked through to a sufficient level, they come out during bar prep and they become obstacles in studying, right? You're sitting with property law and you're just like, why am I doing this again? I don't want to be here, right? I don't want to be doing this. And so it's really the good time right now to just kind of explore that, vent it all out, yell to your significant others, to your family, whoever can tolerate that, to a therapist, of just kind of getting out all those emotions. So that way, right, we do get what we just heard from Elena of just like, I'm ready to go, let's do this, and I'm ready to get back into studying. And I really like the reconnecting with your why. That was something that always guided me throughout the trials and tribulations of law schools and the challenges, right? Of like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this, for a better life for myself, for a better life for my family? Am I doing this to make a lot of money? Whatever it is that was the reason why you started all of this, that can still be your North Star and your guiding light to get through this challenge. And so after you go through all that, then you're going to want to consider an early start to bar prep. We'll talk more about that later on in the presentation. So but in the month of November, going up until the official start of 12/11, and most programs are going to start around 12/11 because that gives you your 10-week bar prep program. You can consider starting early. Okay, you don't have to. We'll talk about that in more detail. And then, of course, we're all going to pass this next bar exam. That's the intention, that's the mindset, that's what we're going to put out there, that's what we're going to work towards. All right, so here we have own your story. Not passing does not mean never passing. Don't forget that most people take the bar exam more than once. Own your story and know that it'll feature a person that displayed perseverance and determination to accomplish their goal. And so all the people that you see here, famous, right, did not pass the bar exam on their first attempt. First Lady Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris, Judge Eric Taylor, Hillary Clinton, Mayor Villaraigosa, President Franklin Roosevelt, and even the ever so popular Kim Kardashian didn't pass the baby bar on her first attempt. So this is just to let you know that you're not alone, right? And if anything, majority of the people, especially in a state like California, are retaking this exam. So I really stand by whenever I tell repeat takers that I truly think that you come out of this experience with something more, right, than a first time taker. And it's that it takes a lot to go through, right, for some of us, 2, 3 attempts at taking this. And it's such a build of character to be humbled by this exam, figure out and look in the mirror of what do I need to work on those weaknesses, and then get over this hurdle. So I hope that you guys all look forward to that being your story, because I think it is an amazing story. And that, again, like Sarah was saying, there's so much success on the other side of all this. All right, so from there, right, once we start owning all of this, we start getting ready for that next step. And I want you to remember, you're going to be entering this next round with confidence. You're not going to let go of all of what you've done up until this point. Okay, you're not starting from scratch. You're building on top of all the work that you've put in the previous time. So all those skills that you did develop, that clarity of some area of the law, right? That knowledge for some of those topics, we're going to build on that. So sometimes students feel like I can't start this all over again. I can't start from scratch. Do know that you're not starting from scratch. I know it's been some time since some of us have studied, but that information is still in there. All right, so Muhammad Ali is off the mat. He's picked himself up and now he is throwing punches. This is the part where we start coming up with an attack plan, right? The first step was just mentally getting out of that funk. Now we have to figure out what we're going to do. So here are the steps. Number one, assess your time commitment for bar prep, right? And this is where it gets a little tricky, right, for bar students. In July, most students are studying full time, right? You just graduated from school and you're just going into this experience and you have nothing but time to study. That's what you're doing. But a lot of us, since taking the July exam, have picked up work. And so, whether it's work, maybe we've also picked up in life. Some of us gotten married, had kids, just got back into a social life. And so, you have to assess what your time commitment is going to be for December to February. Also, you want to consider if you need to or want to have an early start for a month before bar prep officially begins. Select the attack plan that's going to be best for you in your circumstances for regular bar prep. How can you tweak and customize whatever attack plan you go with? And then lastly, we're just going to talk about a little bit, because it's an often question, or a common question that we get, of should I take February or should I take July? So we'll discuss that as well. All right, so let's talk about the time commitment first. And just to kind of get a little bit of involvement from you guys as we go through this, I'll go back to Elena to start with. Elena, what position are you in as we enter this next round of bar? Will you be working? Do you have any time commitments that you're already aware of that you have to factor in?
Yeah, so I am working full time, also mom to four. So after the July bar, with that one, I was working full time, but I was working like 15-hour work days, and still trying to study for the bar, take care of the kids. So I kind of took a different role that's going to give me a little bit more flexibility. So I'm in a better space in terms of employment and being able to take time off and having that flexibility. Already made the call to my mother-in-law and said, "Hey, I'm going to need you to step up and help me out."
Yes.
Called in the tribe because I think that's what I realized with the first round. I didn't leverage my tribe and I should have. And it was, so far into it, before I reached out for help. And so just setting boundaries, laying out expectations, asking for help are big.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, what you're doing is an early start to bar prep. Sometimes people think of early start as just like opening up the book and getting into studying. A lot of times, an early start is just like starting to set up your life to be conducive to studying for that time period. So that's really good to hear. And so, yeah, you are going to be dealing with some time commitments. And let me hear from one more. Jose, how about you? What is your time commitments going to look like as you enter into this next bar prep phase?
Um, it's actually going to be pretty flexible. I anticipate having about 7 hours study time. I am going to be working on a full-time basis, so that's also going to be a challenge. But the last time I actually took the bar, I was unsuccessful, obviously, but now I'm here again and looking forward to hopefully this will be the right moment to go forward.
Yeah. So what I heard there, we're going to talk about is I want us to walk away from step number one that we're all going to do with how many hours a day in a week am I going to be able to dedicate to bar prep? And we want to have a fixed number there, at least a plan. Right now, all plans end up working out, but that's how we're going to do this, especially if we have time commitments that we know about. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So the first thing that I want to say and make clear is that your goal is full-time study. Anytime you study for the bar exam, this is your goal. When life circumstances prevent you from studying full time, you do what you've got to do. So that does happen. But studying full time is the starting point. The reasoning here is that you want to give yourself the best shot at being done with this chapter of your life. Now, for a lot of us that are here, we've gotten back our grading cards and we've seen how harsh the grading could be, right? I know there are a couple of people in here that where we're in the reread territory, right? So you got two readers to grade your essays. And some of those differences can be shocking, right? Even this go round, I've seen where one grader will grade essay one and give it a 70, and then grader two will give that same essay a 55. So not only is that a 15-point drop, that is a high passing down to a below passing. And it's just so crazy and shocking how the grading for this can be so subjective. And so leaning that back into why I'm such an advocate for full-time study, it's that because there's this nature of arbitrariness to how this is graded, I want us to be in the best position possible to knock this thing out of the park, to not be in reread territory, to not leave as little to chance as possible and make sure we pass. So that is the goal, is full-time study. Now, working backwards for those that do have those commitments, right? For those that have a job, clear your schedule is an option. Here are your three options: clear your schedule, create more time, right? Or that last one is actually study with more time. Create more time got doubled there. So it's either clear your schedule, create more time, or just study with the leftover time that you have. Under clear your schedule, there's been people who have quit their job. Now, I'm never going to be the one to tell you like, yeah, quit your job. But sometimes people have assessed that, hey, like maybe one, there's going to be a better opportunity for me after the bar anyway. Maybe I don't like this job as much. Or maybe I'm just going to take that leap of faith so I can ensure that I get over this hurdle, right? Because, you've seen everything, but you've seen the horror stories of somebody who continues to work full time and study for the bar, and maybe it takes them 5-6 attempts, right? But you've also seen the person who maybe has left their job and still did not pass. So nothing is guaranteed, but it's all just kind of like risk assessment and what you think is going to give you the best shot for long-term success. Another thing that we've seen is being able to stay with your job and negotiate being able to take off the entire 3 months of bar prep. I think that would be the ideal scenario if you have a job, is being able to negotiate that. Now, what if you can't quit your job? Either you love it or you need the money, you can't take off time, your boss is not letting you do it. Well, then the next step is, well, how much time can I create? All right. So you can take 1 month off of your job possibly, and ideally that last month going into the exam, right? So in this case, it'd be taking off February. Maybe you can switch to a part-time role to maybe you're done at 2 every day, or maybe you only work on 3 days out of the week instead of 7, right? Or 5. And then you can also do a hybrid of the two, right? You take that 1 month off and you have a part-time schedule leading up to that. So again, that whole mindset, and you can get creative with your employer there, but the whole mindset is working backwards from a full-time study. How much time can I create to allocate to my studies? And then the last category again would be study with that leftover time. This is where you continue to work full-time and study after work, plus weekends. And if you're going to be in that situation, you really have to consider an early start. And as we're going to talk about later, depending on how well you scored, that may be where you might want to consider taking July. All right, so we'll talk about that in more detail. Now, for those who have other personal commitments, I put clear your schedule, and as a joke there, I put break up. All right, don't break up with your kids. Don't leave your wife. Don't leave your husband. But hey, if you're in that, beginning relationship, maybe put it on pause, right? The idea there is clear your distractions, and distractions sometimes has a negative connotation. I don't mean it in a negative way, right? Distractions are anything that's taking your time, mental space, and energy away from your studies. So, as even Elena was saying, right, she's leaning on her village, right? And so this is the opposite of breaking up. That can help clear your schedule, is leaning in and seeing your support system and how they can help take off some of those distractions for you. So if you can't clear your entire schedule, again, the next step is, how can I create more time? Maybe that's babysitters, adjusting your relationship schedule. Maybe it's not date night every single Friday. Maybe it's once a month during this time period, whatever it may be. And then sacrificing the social schedule. Now, this one's a tough one, right? If nobody here has ever taken the February bar exam, Dorothy, what we got coming up in the month of November and December?
All the holidays.
Right?
Time.
Thanksgiving. Everybody's trying to stuff their face with some turkey legs on
Can't host
Thanksgiving.
this year. We can't host this year.
Yeah, no hosting, right? You got all the holidays in December for all the different religions, right? We have all the family time coming up around, and it can be tough. So, this is, even a more difficult time for some to sacrifice that social schedule, that family time. But it's something to be very mindful of, and really consider, again, what's important, and can I sacrifice a little bit of that family time this year so I can be done with this test, right? And I could get that, have that Esquire and have that job, and have that stability, or now I could take next year's Thanksgiving and Christmas or whatever it may be to the next level. So, yeah, I can tell you, we're legally fit. We're working on Christmas Eve. We're working, right? We're doing stuff on New Year's or New Year's Eve, however the schedule falls that year. So it's our commitment to you guys in that way. So yeah, be prepared for that in this time frame. All right, and then the last one is study with leftover time. So if you cannot clear your schedule, if you cannot create more time, and it's just like my personal commitments are fixed, then whatever that time is that you have left, that's what you use, and you make a plan based off of that. The bottom part here in teal is what's important, right? Again, as Jose had said, like 7 hours. I want everyone here after today to start figuring out what their time commitments are. And then you should have a clear and practical approach for how many hours are you going to have per day and per week. So that way you can start to answer some of these questions of private coaching, taking a program, and how much I'll dedicate to the program. Do I need to start early? All those things. It all starts with, what is your time commitments going to look like during bar prep? Any questions on time commitments before we move on? You can raise your digital hand if you have any. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. So we're going to move on.
I have a question.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So when you say full time, what would that be to you? Is that an 8-hour day? Is that 12 hours?
So when I say study full time, that is for a first time taker. It really is leaning into a 9 a.m. to about 7 to 9 p.m. in time. Right. So I'm a little bit more on the aggressive side of literally all day. And I have breaks involved in that day, but that's pretty much all that I'm doing from wake up to sleep. As a repeat taker, there is a little bit of a built-in, right, like relaxation in a sense, right? A little bit less of a sense of like I have to go as long because again, you have so much from which you came in next time. So I would say the starting point for full time for a repeat taker should be at least a 9 to 5, 9 to 6. So that would be
Okay.
your full work day. And then Alex, I saw you had your hand up as well.
Yeah. So if you are working full time and you only have and cancel it, you don't have a lot of room to move things out, would you say that if you only have the leftover time that you need to do the July, or you think it would be practical if like we just started like in November that we could be able to take it in February?
Um, it was a little choppy for me. I think I got most of the question, but you're saying that if you're in the situation where you have significant time commitments, um, do I need to consider taking July instead of February?
Yeah, that was basically it.
Got you. So we're gonna get to that, and I can tell you it's gonna be a basically a factor test, right? It's gonna be multiple things that you're gonna want to consider, and I can tell you, right? It's the quick. You could have student A who was 5 points away from passing, only has right 10 hours a week to study. It'd be like, all right, go ahead, shoot your shot for February. If you were, 100+ points away on February, excuse me, on July, and you only have 10 hours a week to study, well, then now it might be maybe we should consider taking a long approach for July. So there'll be some other factors as well, but that's how that can kind of play out. Okay. So let's go into why start early. So I was thinking about this and making this presentation, and from the years of working with students, there's really two different reasons why somebody would consider starting early. And let me start off by saying it's not necessary. You don't have to, but a lot of us do want to, or maybe need to based off of our circumstances. So number one is that you have to start early as a remedy to having a part-time bar prep schedule. So coming over from the last slides, if you have time commitments that you know about, right? You need to start early as a remedy to make up for some of that time that's going to be sacrificed later. If you know you have Thanksgiving plans that you have to do and holiday plans and you know there's work, etc., well, start your schedule now. Okay, so that way you can give yourself a little bit of a cushion and maybe everything can work out just okay once you get into actual bar prep. And another way to start early and reason why people start early is extra attention and practice. So using early start to place extra attention on your weaknesses. So going with, let's go with Jason. After going through the exam that first time, what was your takeaway that you have so far on what your weaknesses are?
Actually, I'm glad you asked me because people have been saying like they saw their scores. I looked everywhere I could and I didn't actually see my score itself. Like, is there a way to do that? Sorry. Oh, I think you're on mute. I'm sorry.
Yes, there's definitely a way to check that. So we'll have to get you organized with that, being able to check the scores. So then, yeah, we'll come back to you on that. So let's go back to Michael. Right, Michael, you were saying that your essays, right, weren't as strong as you thought they were going to be.
Right. For some of the essays that I thought I did well in for the topics, they didn't, I didn't do so well. And so I knew my two big takeaways is being able to write tailored towards what the bar examiners would want to see. And so for multiple choice, my biggest struggle was being able to spot the issue and remember the rule statement for whatever the question was asking me. So I know basically my two big takeaways is working on multiple choice again and writing what the bar examiners want to see.
Yeah. So from that, right, it sounds like there's a lot of like practice that needs to be involved. And let's go ahead and hone in right now on essays specifically. And let's say the skill of issue spotting, right? He acknowledged that. So now during this time, it's like, let's hone in specifically on that weakness. So how would one work on issue spotting? Well, you would do maybe successive practice exams for 30 minutes of just reading through the question and seeing if you can spot the issues. And you would do exercises like that, that again, hone in on that issue, right? If you were, let's say, weak in multiple choice, you can use this time to give some extra attention to multiple choice. So the whole idea again is that you would identify your weaknesses. And if you can't do that on your own, we have resources. There are other resources out there that you do want to get assistance then in figuring out those weaknesses, so you know what to kind of tailor your approach, whether it's in early or regular. All right. So those are the two different ways to start early. Now, who is the early start for? Early starts for those that are ready to rock and roll, right? I'm gonna already go ahead and again put Elena in that bucket based off of that energy I was getting. She's like, I'm ready to do this. I'm just ready to get started. I've had some conversations with other students like, all right, didn't go well. Maybe I expected it, or I've already let it go and I'm just ready to rock. So why not start early? I do feel that way about starting early. Like if you're ready, go ahead and do it. It's also for those that have those work and personal commitments during bar prep. And then it's also for those that want a warm up before intense studying. So if you're in that position where you're not maybe so high energy and so ready to rock and roll, but it's also just like, all right, I kind of want to just like start the walk or the crawl before I start running again, that's another good reason to start early. Do you have to start early? As mentioned, no. You have to do what's best for you. You should consider when you last took the bar exam, right? And the idea there is that the further away in the past that you've taken the last exam, the more likely you should do an early start. But for all those that just took July, it's not as much pressure, right? Because you did recently study for this exam. What was your last score, right? So the closer you were to passing, right, the less that you need to do an early start. So if you were in that close range for California, if you were, I would say, less than 50 points away or around 50 points away, like, do you have to early start? No. If you want to, why not? But I wouldn't say you're in that like you need to. But if you were more than 50 points, more than 100 points, I highly recommend an early start, because why not give yourself that best shot and chance at passing? You have to also consider your time availability. Like, do you have the availability right now, on this like spur of the moment, found out I didn't pass, can I gear back up this quickly on Monday or even the following week? So maybe you can't, kind of turn your life around and get back into studying that quickly, or maybe you can. And then last, your mental readiness. They say you save the last, the best for last. And I think that's the most important consideration in whether you should start early. Like, do not start early if you're not mentally ready. I'd rather you spend your early start getting mentally ready, doing whatever you need to get your life ready, get your mindset ready to go into actual bar prep and ready to dedicate as much as you can to it. All right. Because we know that, over the past course of maybe like 3 or 4 years, almost seemingly ever since COVID, there's just this constant sense of almost burnout. Work schedules have changed, life has changed, and a lot of us are tired. We find little micro, recharges, and we kind of go through waves. And so that's a very personal question that everybody should assess of like, am I ready right now? Or do I need to do something very intentional to try and be as ready as I can come December, 11th. All right, so let's get a little bit more specific on how do you start early for those that are interested. So if you're taking that remedy approach because you have those time commitments, take a look at your Legally Fit schedule, or if you're taking another company, take a look at their schedule and simply work ahead of that schedule. So for example, for Legally Fit, we start off with contracts and property in our first 2 weeks. Well, you would just go ahead and start doing that schedule early on. So that way, when we get to property and contracts, you've already done it, and you're going to basically kind of work at your own schedule, and you'll pop in for the workshops that we do or whatever it may be, but you've created a cushion in the schedule by starting early. The extra attention and practice approach, you're going to do something different. You're not going to just simply start the schedule early. Again, you're going to identify your weaknesses and spend time intentionally working on those through exercises, So if you're weak in multiple choice, sit with multiple choice and do them. Maybe go into some strategy on how can I improve my strategy, Maybe you have weaknesses with specific topics. Like, I never understood remedies, Maybe that essay crushed me, or I never understood contracts. And so you can start off by getting into that subject and maybe getting comfortable with the law there. So there's always the law and the skills that you can identify as weaknesses. And again, you just want to go straight into that. And then lastly, how do you start early? Start preparing your life. Get that distraction-free period during bar prep. Any questions on starting early before we move on to creating that attack plan? Okay. And then so let me just to do a little bit of hearing somebody else's voice before we move on to the next one. Let me go with is it Amy?
Yes, it's Amy.
Amy. So are you considering an early start, like based off of everything that we've gone through? Where's your head at with starting early?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm, with Elena, like with what she said, I'm just ready to get back into it, probably starting this Monday. So, I'm so thankful with my job that I've been able to at least like get a part-time, finish, do like an 8 to 12 in the morning and then take a little break and from 1 to 8 to like an 8-hour day, Monday through Friday. And then also weekends. So that's kind of my thing. Definitely I want to start early.
Awesome. There we go. So it's like, I already know it. I'm ready. I want to start early. And so now you got some information on, are you more in that then remedy approach, or do you find yourself more probably in then that work on the weaknesses, right? Extra attention approach?
Yeah, definitely just focusing on the weaknesses
Good.
first. Yeah, and then just towards the end, I guess just going in with my strengths, but definitely starting off with weaknesses this time.
Perfect. Okay. So early start. Now we're talking about select your attack plan. So you have to figure out what you're going to do. And we're going to talk about whether you should take the same company versus a new company, right? Whether you should do a company versus a private tutor. And we're going to talk about the Legally Fit hybrid approach as well. Let's break it all down. So first off, same versus new company. Here are the pros of same company. You're familiar with the materials and the approach. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So you have to look in the mirror to see, what did I do last time? And do I feel like I was guided and coached well with the company that I had? And if you liked it, if it's not, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So sometimes you just need to have another go at it, right? But obviously the con is sometimes with the company that you had, if it is broke, do fix it. If you don't feel like you got proper resources that connect it with you, if you don't feel like you got feedback that you were able to grow from, if you didn't understand the law from the lecture videos that you were watching, then that's where you want to consider a new company. New company has improved materials and approach if you select the right one. It's a fresh program for a fresh start. I think that's something, for a lot too, that they didn't like their other program. If you go into a new program, that kind of gives you this like new energy for this new experience. Like, all right, I got this new system. This is going to help me. And I think that can kind of help in that mental category as well. But the con is definitely picking the right category, right? And so obviously I'm biased. I'm going to tell you guys, if you're here, Legally Fit is a great one, but some of you guys might be considering other companies as well. And that can be a daunting experience of just kind of like weighing the pros and cons, and everybody's telling you how good they are and what that is. So sometimes that is the cons of picking a new company, is that you might have a few to sift through and you're trying to figure out which one's going to be the best. Company versus private tutor. With a company, you have full coverage of the entire bar exam. It's more affordable, more materials, but sometimes it can be a cookie cutter program, right? For all those that took the Barbary or the Themis, you know how that goes. You just essentially get your materials and it's like good luck, right? Not a lot of human interaction, no personalized attention. With a private tutor, you get all that personal attention, that face-to-face, etc. But sometimes they're only specialists that don't provide full coverage for the whole exam. So you may get a private tutor who really specializes in the essay, but now your PT and your multiple choice is really low, or vice versa. So you have to make sure private tutors, right, as good as they can be, sometimes they're too specialized and they may not help you for the entire exam. And that takes us lastly to the Legally Fit approach. We'll talk more about Legally Fit a little bit too later on for those that are interested. But what we try to aim for is really the best of both worlds, where we give you this full program, full coverage for the entire exam, but we also incorporate some human interaction, support, and guidance throughout the whole thing, where you get some of those perks from a private coach as well. So we have live workshops 2 to 4 times a week, personalized attention, full coverage for the exam, robust materials. It's a traditional approach that you're going to see from your Barbary, your Themis, but it's elevated to include all of those things. And of course, we try to keep the pricing affordable, right? It's not going to be as expensive as a private tutor, but also sometimes it's going to be a little bit more than your Barbary or Themis. All right, so let me get into now my recommendations for you all based off of where you scored. Now, this is based off of the California exam. It's hard for me to do the UBE in a group setting because depending on the state that you're in, it has different grading systems. So we're gonna go off of California. If anybody wants to do UBE specific, we have to do that in a one-on-one. So if you were 25 points or less from passing, right, I recommend a bar prep program. For private coaching, I put why not, and it's 1 to 3 sessions, right? I think as a repeat taker, it's always good to do at least a little bit of private coaching to have somebody now, as you've gone through everything, look through what are your weaknesses. And so if you were 25 points or less, you were pretty close, but you can have somebody kind of give you this intentional, all right, here's what I want you to work on to get over that hurdle. Now, again, is that needed when you're 25 points or less? No. I think in that category, you could have easily passed the exam. That doesn't mean there wasn't too many more questions right that you had to get over that hurdle. And so it's not needed, but again, if you have the interest in really maximizing your time, I think coaching sessions from somebody who knows and can identify where you can improve, that can be beneficial. And then I put self-study. Some people like, I don't want to do another program. I don't want to watch any lecture videos. I don't want any coaching. I just want to sit down by myself with my materials and study. And I think for the person that's in that 25 points or less category, that's definitely an option. Okay. I never recommend it just because, again, I have the mindset of like, let me give as much to this as possible to make sure I pass, but you do have an option there. Now, once you get into that 26 to 90 points, definitely take a program. And also, I strongly recommend that you do private coaching to work with somebody consistently through that so to make sure that you're passing. And I don't think self-study is an option there. And if you're more than 91 points away from passing, then bar prep program and then private coaching twice a week and then self-study. Now, again, these are recommendations. There is no fixed thing. I've seen it all, now 10 years into doing bar prep. I've seen the person who's graduated with a, under 3.0 who worked full time and somehow passed the bar exam on their first attempt. Still scratching my head as to how that happened. I've seen the person study absolute full time, right, and give it everything and not pass, who graduated with a 3.5 GPA. So what we're working with is the majority, right, the data. And based off of the 10 years that I've been doing this, these are my recommendations based off of the majority. Okay. Any questions on the recommendations of private coaching, self-study, bar prep program, anything about private tutor, right? Anything in this realm of what we just discussed? Are there any questions there? No? Okay. So really quickly, I wanted to give, for those that are interested in self-studying, here are some tips that if you do go that route of just studying on your own, again, only do that if you're in that range of being close to passing, and also identify as being disciplined and self-motivated, because you really are going to be essentially by yourself. You don't have a schedule. You don't have anything really to kind of guide you. So you have to do all that for yourself now and make sure, you're capable of doing that. Be sure you have a clear schedule, reliable materials, and a plan for keeping yourself accountable. And then avoid the materials buffet, right? I always say, whatever program you do, try to lean into that program. But once you start doing the outlines from Legally Fit, and then the critical pass flashcards, and then the, baressays.com, and then the cheat sheets from here, it's just too much, right? So you want to keep a very simple and streamlined approach. Pick a company that has the most, that's good for you, and stick with that, but avoid having everything from all the different sources. All right, and then after you select your game plan, the next thing you want to do is customize that attack plan. So read and dissect your scores if you haven't already, right? So we were just talking with, let me scroll through and see who that was again. Oh, his picture's not up, but the gentleman I was just talking to, Jason, that he wasn't able to actually get his scores. You want to be able to get your scores and really dissect those scorecards so you could see, what do I need to work on? All right. And then after that, you want to adjust your schedule. And my big message here is, do not overcorrect. I've seen a student who did really well on the MBEs and say poorly on the essays. And then in correcting that, they focused all on MBEs the next time, right? If I said that correctly, the one that they did not do well in, right? And so then now their MBE scores went up, but they overcorrected and spent now too much time on the MBEs, and then their essay scores dropped lower than what they used to be. So you do want to make these adjustments, but don't overcorrect to where you now create a different issue, where now you walked into the exam and you didn't really do enough practice essays to get refamiliar with that process, and now you have lower essays. Okay. So let's go to the next slide now. All right, so let's talk about common issues and solutions. It could be understanding the law, poor test taking skills, insufficient practice. All right, those are the big three for why students typically don't fail. It's either one of those three or a combination of all. And so that is, again, what you want to sit down and figure out. And right, and here's some of the solutions for that. If it was understanding the law, now you have to make sure you choose the right sources and get back into, right? Do I know what 2207 is? Can I issue spot it? Can I analyze it thoroughly? Do I know remedies? Do I know PR, right? Poor test taking skills. Can I translate that understanding into a strong essay? Can I translate that into performing on the multiple choice and critically thinking? And then insufficient practice. I think this is the number one reason why students don't pass, is that they did not do enough practice. It is imperative that you hit these marks to be in that zone of like, all right, bare minimum of like what I should be doing to expect to pass. And that's 2,200 MBEs and to touch 100 essays. You don't have to write out all of them, but at least see 100. Okay. And the last thing we're going to talk about here is reasons to take February and reasons to take July. So I'm gonna start with the last bullet point on reasons to take February. Taking February for most of us here is the default plan. That's what we should be, right, wanting to do, planning to do, etc. You're mentally ready to go again. You were close to passing. You have the time to study. And yeah, even if you weren't close to passing, right, like, this should be the default plan that you go with. Now, why does one say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a break, not take February and move to July? It's if you need significant improvement and you have limited time due to work or personal commitments. So if you have to make a big jump and you know you're going into this bar prep period with not a lot of time to study, that's where you might want to consider taking July. And some people will say, in my mind, right, I'm really getting ready for July, but just for the heck of it, I'm still going to shoot my shot in February. And that's okay if you want to do that too. But I do think it's beneficial for some to take that mental break so they can kind of reassess, you know, regroup, and then give it their best shot in July. But again, all personal. All right. So now's a good question for any questions on what we have. And then after we have the questions, I have a few guest speakers who have come to join us to talk to you guys as well, so you guys can hear from some recent bar passers and they can give you guys some, you know, pep talk and little motivation. So yeah, I'll go with some questions and then we'll pass it over to the guest speakers. So yeah, Jason.
Thank you. Can I ask 2 questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the first question is, when we say touch 100 essays, maybe the answer is subjective, but like how many would you say? What's the breakdown of like how many we actually write out versus how many we just issue spot?
So I could do the math pretty quickly. In our program, we have essay day twice a week, and you should write out at least 2 of those essays, right? So that's essentially, and then we do that for 7 weeks. So that's at least 14 essays there. You have a mock exam, that's another 5, that's 20, or you know, that's 5, so that's 19, round up to 20. And then during the bar prep last 2 weeks, you should write out some there. Let's say it's another 10. I would say close to like anywhere from 30 to 50 of those, like you want to write out fully. And then the other ones you can write out in a hybrid manner, or you can simply do a read through and like issue spot.
Awesome, thank you. And the second question is, and like maybe there is an answer to this online, but like, do you know why the pass rate for July is roughly like 50-50, a little over 50, whereas for February it's way lower, like 30% or something?
Yeah, I think the quick, easy answer for that is that there's data on the difficulty of once somebody has not passed, for them to pass. And so with the February exam, you have repeat takers who have already identified a struggle with passing. And so some of them, right, might not be taking the steps that we are talking about here, and they find themselves not passing again. So February has that much higher repeat taker population. And for a lot of repeat takers, it can be difficult sometimes to get out of that if they're really not, again, doing essentially what you guys are doing of being proactive of like, all right, how do I get out of this? And then making sure they set the intention and the schedule to ensure they get out. So that's the big reason why you see a lower pass rate for February.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Michael?
Hi, my question is, what is the passing rate for repeat test takers through your program?
Okay, so we're gonna actually jump into all the legally fit stuff after our little guest speakers, not little guest speakers, our guest speakers. The guest speakers are gonna come in here, and a big part of Legally Fit is the support system. So I've asked these students to come to not really, they're gonna mention their Legally Fit experience a little bit, but really what I wanted them to do is just come in here and relate to you guys, right? And talk with you guys. All of these students were repeat takers. And they've gotten over the hurdle. And so I've invited them here today to share some of that experience and some uplifting words for you all as you guys enter that space. And then we'll jump into Legally Fit specific program and the pass rates and all that good jazz. So let me start it off with Shelby. So Shelby is one of our Legally Fit All-Stars. She's amazing. I know she took time out of her busy schedule today. Today is her dad's birthday, but she wanted to make sure that she came in and spoke to you guys. So Shelby, I'm gonna pass the torch to you. Go ahead and give them a few words. And again, thank you for coming today.
Okay, yeah, of course. Hey guys, I'm Shelby. And I just want to start off saying that I know this weekend for probably all of you has been just horrible. You probably yesterday or Thursday got the worst news of your life, and I have been there multiple times, so I definitely feel your pain, but I want to give you some hope for the future. And when you do come out on the other side, there's bigger and there's better things. Like, there really is a light at the end of the tunnel. I personally took the bar 4 times. Never in my life I thought that I would be in that position. I thought, oh, I'm going to take it one time, and I had all these plans, and this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And I ended up passing I took the test last February, so I ended up getting my results in May. And it was probably the whole study process ended up being like a year and a half. It was the worst year and a half of my life. I'm not saying it's easy. It's going to be really, really hard. And you guys need to like tap into somewhere that you've never went before. It's not like law school. It's not like undergrad. It's not even like studying. When you study the first time, and the people that pass as first time test takers, I'm not saying that they had it easy, because they didn't. They put in all the work, as you guys know, because you've done it the first time too. But there's something else that there's a strength that you get from taking it the second time or the third time or the fourth or the fifth. And it changes you as a person. And like I said, it was the worst time of my life, and I hated every moment of it. But now I can confidently say that it was the best thing to ever happen to me. And I know DeAndre is going to be like, I don't think you were feeling that way in the moment. I wasn't, but it was because and this again sounds super cliche, but you're really exactly where you need to be. And some things happen for a reason. And now I know the reasons that, I had to take it for the 4th time. The first 3 times I was failing every time with my like best friend, and we were taking it together, and she passed on her 3rd. So I was completely by myself on the 4th time. Everything I had to do on my own. And I think it was meant to happen for me for that reason. So I really knew, you can do this on your own. You can push through, and you're in really good hands with Legally Fit. The material is very easy to understand. I liked it. I looked into other programs as well, but nothing stuck as well as Legally Fit did. I love the outlines. I love the schedule. I think it's really well written out for you. And I just want you guys to know that keep trying. Even if you, I don't know if this it's your second time or your third time or your fourth, but push yourself, and it's going to happen when it needs to happen. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that this isn't just, oh, you study for 3 months and whatever, you can do it again. You're carrying the weight of 3 years prior. You go into law school knowing that you're going to take the bar. So that's like the weight that's on your shoulders. You did all this. And personally for me, I went to undergrad knowing that I wanted to go to law school. So it's like you carry the weight from 3 years prior, 4 years prior, 5 years prior. And when you get those results and you see that you failed, it's not just like, oh, let me just do it again real quick. It's like, fuck. Like, it sucks. It's literally the worst feeling. And when you get the pass, it's such a feeling of relief that the weight of all those years prior is just coming off of your shoulders, and it's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it. Like, I'm in the best place I've been, and I literally was like depressed for the past year and a half when I was taking it, and I was like, oh my God, my life is over. Everybody is passing. Everybody, I think most people that were in my class passed before me. It's a really shitty feeling. It's sometimes you feel embarrassed, but this test is like a beast of its own. And you never know. Like the first time I got, I was just a few points away the first time. So it was really a horrible feeling because I was like, I think I was 3-4 points away. So it just really sucked. But you got to do what you got to do. And I want you guys to keep pushing, and yeah, and that's it. Like, that's all you have to do. Just keep pushing and make the changes you need to make. And be really focused. And DeAndre always says, like, once you get further into the Legally Fit process, if you haven't been with him from before, shut everything out. You're going to have to, some friendships are going to go a little bit shaky. Your relationships with your family are not going to be able to attend a lot of events that you would have been free for before. You have to deal with it. It's what, 2.5 months, especially for February. And I saw someone ask about why is the pass rate lower in February? So I took July twice and February twice. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but it is a more difficult test. They do make it harder. They really do. Like when I took it in February, every essay was a crossover, every single one. So, and one was like a 3 times crossover, like toward, like it was really weird. So yeah, don't neglect the crossover essays. It's not happened to me. And yeah, I don't know if there's like any questions, or I can put my number in the chat.
Yes, please.
Yeah, if anyone needs motivation, and you can talk to me, like I'll let you know my stories and the things they changed. I did everything. I did the pre-legally fit, the pre-bar, I did legally fit all the way through. I did the tutoring, I did all of it, and it all helped. And some people are just, test taking is not your thing. And just remember that these tests, especially the essays, are rated by real people, so it's not a machine. They're graded by real people. And sometimes you're like, damn, I thought I did really good on that. You probably did. So don't beat yourself up if, you saw your scores and, it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. And sometimes you do great on essays that, you were like, I didn't know anything. So they're not, yeah.
Which just goes to that arbitrary nature, right? That we're always talking about, that like literally 2 people graded the same essay. One gave it above passing, a 70, and another person gave it a 55. And so that's the whole thing, is like, even when we analyze that, you can't even overanalyze, sometimes the scores on those essays, because the grading is all over the place, so you take what we can from it. But like, Shelby is saying, it's just all about like, all right, take with what you can and just kind of just get back after. You have one more thing, Shelby?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you go into it knowing you did your best and you tried your best, and then when you see your scores after, if you you know, hopefully you don't see your scores, but when you do see your scores, you know, you were like, I gave this my all. There was nothing more I could have done. And there was probably some, you know, externals. It sucks, but sometimes I think, you know, I worked my ass off every single time. So I obviously think the test is rigged a little bit, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that, you know, you just need to do your best, and whatever happens is going to happen for you. And if you know you did that, then yeah, I think Alexandria has a question. Do you have a question for me?
Hi, yeah, sorry. No, I don't know if this is a bit too intrusive of a question,
Yeah.
but what do you think, like, between like the first time you took it, you were like a few points away from passing, and then the second time, like, what do you like wish you knew going into the second time that you took it? And like, you know, like what, like, I guess, yeah, what do you wish you knew, or like, what do you wish you did differently? Like, especially being like a few points away.
So for the first time I took it, it was a COVID exam. So I took it at home on Zoom. So like the second time I took it was really like more of a nerve-wracking experience. I actually had to go in. You know, I slept at the hotel, which I highly, highly recommend. You do not want to be, you know, worried about other things. Just that's a full day of focus, a full 2 days of focus. So I guess I wish I knew where I was lacking a little more. I was really bad with MBE. It's not my thing. I'm a little bit more creative when it comes to the writing. I feel like I could BS my way out of stuff more. But yeah, I wish I just focused more on the MBE. That's personal. So I think you really need to look at your scores. And I just wish I knew, I wish I knew I was gonna fail, I guess. There's nothing that you could have known before. So that's really it. I don't know if that really answered the question, but
Yeah, it seems just very like, because I kind of feel like COVID messed me up, because a lot of the bar is like testing 1L subjects, and I had a really bad 1L year because
Yeah.
I was like a COVID student.
yeah,
Like, I think that plays a big part into like,
it does. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so let's do a quick one from Marlon, and we have a couple other people that wanted to speak, and I don't want to hold you guys too much past the hour. So let's go to Marlon's question quick, and then we'll jump to Mamta and Asha. So yeah, go ahead, Marlon.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, my question is just that, excuse me, in your experience, now that you've crossed over and you're working and you've had those struggles with the bar, if someone is like having an issue with the essay writing or the performance test, do you see that as something that is indicative of you know your legal work now? Is it a reflection of what you can perform when you cross on the other side?
This is a great question, and taking the bar and honestly law school has nothing to do with working. It's not the same. It's completely different. I guess the performance test kind of helps. I don't think I've ever written a memo like that, you know, when it's really not the same. You need to pass this hurdle of taking the bar. It's something else. But what did help me is the fact that I took it 4 times. It changed me as a person. My work ethic and the drive and the strength that I have when it comes to working is completely different than some of the people I know that passed on the first time. You as a person, you're going to change. Honestly, it sounds like bad, especially to say this. I don't know if I should say it, but it's like a war. It's like but it's like a mental and emotional and a physical war that you're going to come out stronger on the other side. And that part will reflect when you're working. But when it comes to your score on the bar, it has nothing to do with actual like working in law. There's some things like, I guess, you know, like I use what I learned in Civ Pro, but that's like California. So those are some things that help, but it's like you Google everything. It's not.
I see.
So what Shelby kind of said there too, and I think in a better way, in a way that she, you know, related to what I was saying earlier, right, Marlon, was that own your story, right? Like that whole, like the people who come out of this taking this more than once, like you come out of this with such like a scar tissue in a sense that like calluses you a little bit, you know, for the next challenge of life, that kind of gives you this kind of grit. So Yeah, like I think Shelby kind of just spoke to that of just like, yeah, like my work ethic, my mental fortitude, because the mental fortitude that it takes to get through this as a repeat taker is different. So thank you so much, Shelby, for coming in and sharing a few of those words. That was amazing. We'll catch up soon. Hopefully
Thanks
that's
for
the
the
next
help.
Legally Fit alum event so we can see each other in person.
Good luck, you guys. I'm praying for all of you, and you will all be in my prayers the next time the results come out, and you will get through this.
And put your contact information in the
I did.
chat.
I put my phone number, so yeah, you can
Perfect.
text me.
Thank you, Shelby.
Yeah, of course. Good luck.
All right. So next is Mamta. Mamta is another Legally Fit favorite, and she's come to talk to you guys. She came over from what program did you take first, Mamta?
So I came from Themis.
You came from Themis first, and she came over and took Legally Fit. I mean, I'll let her tell her story, but let's all give Mamta some love. Mamta just passed. She just found out she passed on Thursday. So yes, we were all rooting so hard for Mamta. She put so much into this, as everybody did. But Mamta, congratulations again. And
Thank you.
yeah, go ahead and talk to him.
Yeah, so like DeAndre said, I came from Themis, and so I ended up coming with Legally Fit after I heard about it during law school. And like I remember on my second try, I thought to myself, I was like, where the heck was this my whole life? Not just my whole life, but I guess law school, right? Like the way that DeAndre explained things, the way that the entire system was structured, it was in a way that not only I was able to understand, but then I turned around and like, I had a bunch of friends on my social media that I was helping in return, right? So that's, I think, the biggest thing that I got out of Legally Fit was just like, I got a community. I got like people, I wasn't so alone at the end of the day, because when you take big box companies, you are literally just a number, or you're like, you don't really matter in the long term to anybody else. And so I felt like my presence here, my contributions here mattered. And that ended up translating weirdly enough in my scores. The first time I took the bar, I was 100-ish points away from passing. The second time, I was literally 4 points away from passing. It broke my heart a little bit, but I had the same reaction as I think Elena did, where I was like, okay, I'm ready to get up, I'm ready to fight. It was literally about the day after I thought to myself, I was like, okay, I'm ready to fight. I'm not going to go down. It's okay. But then in the middle of bar prep, this is what DeAndre was saying. If you don't address your unresolved issues, it'll come out in the middle of bar prep. So I had realized, I said, what was my real reason for getting up and getting like so willing and eager to fight immediately? And I think it was spite. And so obviously spite can be a really good motivator, but at the same time, that'll start to run you down over time, because spite is kind of like, derivative of hatred, right? You have to have so much love for yourself that even when you feel like this whole thing is impossible, you have to be able to trust yourself, right? I think it was during one of our workshops at the end, we have this cool little thing where we all hash out like how we feel and like, what's going on with us in that given week, or what were our strengths and weaknesses. And so one thing I had realized, there was a point during my second time I was taking the bar, was I thought to myself, I was like, why am I so like, I have the assignments in front of me, everything is here, everything is set in stone. Why do I not feel like doing it? Why am I so tired? Or when I sit down to do it, what about me is just half-assing it, right? And so then I had to really sit there in my feelings for a minute. And this is why I should have probably done that before bar prep was like in full swing, was because, it comes from a lack of self-love. You have to love yourself enough to work hard for what you want, for your dreams, for your goals and ambitions, right? Because at the end of the day, when you go to fight, like Muhammad Ali, when you get up, at that end of the day, it's you versus your opponent. It's not, it's not going to be your family. It's not going to be nothing else. It's going to be you, right? And so in order to have that, I think one of the things that Legally Fit really helped me do was to boost that, was to boost my self-love, to boost my love in my community. And that's what I think you really need coming forward, is like what DeAndre was saying, like use your community, talk to people, try to figure out, what is this what was the reason last time, right? That you didn't feel like you did as well. Even when I was 4 points away from passing last time, I thought to myself, I was like, I don't think there was anything I didn't put in at that point. What could have went wrong? Oh, maybe it was my luck, maybe it was fault of my stars. But then I said, you know what? I don't care. Every single time that I didn't pass, which was 2 times, this was my last time. So every single time I didn't pass, I said to myself, I said, I don't care if it's today. I don't care if it's tomorrow. I don't care if it's the day after, the next day, several years from now. I'm going to be a part of this profession. Why? Because we deserve to be here. We worked 3+ years. I mean, we went through an undergraduate education. We went through, and on top of that, you know, as being a woman of color, we deserve to be here as much as everybody else does. All your peers passed, so do you. And so, like, why not? Why not invest in yourself? Why not fight for yourself? Why not get up and, you know, dust your shoulders off? And I think we all owe it to ourselves to work, right? To work for what we want. And, you know, I understand that there will be points, even during your bar prep. Right now, you feel like you're at a low. There'll be a point where in the beginning you're at a high. You're like, okay, this is a new thing. It's fine. I dusted my shoulders off. I'm at a high. But then there'll be a blip where you'll be back at that low. And that's normal. That happens to everybody. It happened to me. It happened to all my friends, where you're like, oh, damn, not this again. Why do I have to do this? Like, you know, then you have to get yourself up again. It's a constant. And that's why you have community. And that's what Legally Fit did for me. When I was at that low, I had a sparring partner. I had DeAndre. I had Monique. I had so many people to be like, I'm at a low. And, you know, what do I do to get back up there? And they really helped me. They really guided me. They were my like coach in the back, like, hey, get up. What are you doing down there? Get your ass up. So I think, you know, I think you all have it in you. We all have it in us. It just comes down to a matter of how much do you love yourself to be able to, when there's nobody else around, when like was said earlier, drawing those boundaries, when you lose those friends, those family, those relationships, you know, how are you able to get yourself up? That's what defines your character. And so the bar exam is not just the bar exam. It changes you, like was said earlier.
Yeah.
And if you need anything, if y'all need a pep talk or like any pointers, I had really good acronyms. My acronyms were the best.
Send those to me, Mamta. I might have to put those up in some of the materials.
Yeah, they were great. But if y'all need anything, I'll keep I'll put my contact information in the chat. And I'm always willing. I'm always able. Anybody who knows me here, I'm always willing to talk and, you know, help out in any way I can. I'd love to.
All right, I think
Mamta mantras. Okay, that's what we're gonna call it. The Mamta mantras. I love it. Thank you so much for coming, Mamta.
Thank you for having me.
One question too from Kira. Is it Kira or Kyra?
It's Kyra.
Kyra.
My question for you, Mamta, was I kind of like, so when you said that you realized it was like spite, like why you feel like motivated. For me, like I kind of felt like the same reaction, like I'm mad because it's like I always feel like I have to work twice as hard for everything. Like I'm not a good standardized test taker. I had to take everything twice. And this is the one time where I was like, I'm going to work hard because it's going to be one and done. So my question is, I know I'm mad right now. And you mentioned that like, yeah, it was a good motivator, but at the same time, like it came up and snuck up on you during bar prep. So what, for me, like, or anybody else who might be feeling this, what would you suggest? Like, how did you like break down the spite and like make sure you kept it as a motivator and not like to when you felt yourself getting like stared off of mad again and being like, why am I doing this? How did you keep yourself like on the positive track of it?
For me, I think reaching out to my community is what mattered the most, because then they reminded me like, oh, I'm not just my JD. I'm not just this piece of paper. I'm not just a student studying for the bar. I'm way more than that. I'm a whole human being. I mean, I remember there's several times, not just during the bar too, even law school, where I had to like touch my face, like, hold on, I'm a human, right? Like I'm a basic human being, right? So I think really just toning back in, like, okay, I understand this is what's being asked of me. I have to put in these hours, I have to put in the work. But I'm also a human being. I also, I have a family, I have friends, I have a whole personality outside of all of this, right? To tuning in back into your person, maybe even like, taking a step away from, taking breaks is essential. Very, very, very essential. Going on walks, maybe even like, towards the end of the day, watching a show or something that you love to do. Try incorporating that into your like bar prep experience. And then obviously, yeah, like reaching out like to your mom or whoever you feel like would best remind you that, hey, don't forget, you're you're Kyra, like don't forget that, right? At the end of the day.
Awesome. All right. So, two quick wrap up questions, and then we'll go over to Asha. And then, for sake of time, Asha, I'll give you a few questions. And the guest speaker has almost turned into a kind of group therapy session, which is very very legally fit of us sometimes. But we like to keep that stuff afterwards, so that way for those that have other things to do. But I think some of us can always stay after the session. But I do want to respect everybody's time, so I'll try to speed us up so we can be done. And then I'll stick around. I'm not sure what Asha Mamta's schedule, but can definitely stick around for more of this as well. But Mamta, my two questions that I wanted to ask to hear you answer to them was, what was your study schedule? Because I'm curious to know as well. After not passing the first time and being in that space, were you doing the 9 to 5, the 9 to 8? Like, what was most of your days, the study schedule?
I think you were very right when you said 9 to 9. Sometimes it would go way past. I think I talked about it when we did this past. I didn't pass the bar exam. I like would wake up in the mornings and then just start, and then it would be like 12 o'clock at night
Okay.
sometimes.
So you stuck with, even on this very last attempt, on this third one, you stuck with a full-time study.
Yes. Oh,
There.
okay. So in the second time I took the bar, I was also working. So sometimes I'd have to wake up at like 4 in the morning and then study and then go to work. And then, and then at the last couple months of the bar, I was like, okay, I'll take time off. The third time I took the bar, I took complete study. Like I did full 3 months of studying.
Got it,
So
and took everything completely off. And there we go. So,
completely
okay.
opposite. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll go ahead and pause there for Mamta. Mamta, I'm not sure if you're busy. Please stick around, because if there might be some more lingering questions, we can sit around and chat more. And then let me go to Asha really quickly. Asha, another amazing Legally Fit student. Mamta and Asha were both just like two of the many bright stars that we had in our last Legally Fit class, who just came in with a ready to learn attitude and just awesome human beings. And Asha was successful on this last bar attempt. Asha, I think, is a great story of creating a custom plan for herself. And she was very realistic with, like, here are my circumstances, here's what I need to do. She reached out at a time that was a non-traditional time to reach out, and created a very custom approach plan that ended up being successful. So Asha, I think that'd be like, I think the main thing with the time that we have left is to just kind of speak on where you were at when you came to me, and why you decided to take the approach that you did, and how it played out, and how you feel about it now that you've passed, and all those things. But let's kind of hone in on that aspect that I think we haven't touched on just yet.
Okay, I'll try to go quickly, but I was sort of an untraditional student, and I was kind of like shy and like embarrassed about, to be honest, even though like it's completely normal to be a repeat taker, but it's uncomfortable to be on that kind of like hamster wheel of failure that I felt like I was on. I took the bar the first time, and I went to law school in Chicago, so I took Illinois bar with Barbary. It was a horrible experience. I hated Barbary, and then I came back to California, switched to California, and I had taken it twice, and I was with a tutor who was advising me to like memorize my entire outline before ever even doing a practice essay. And I was so afraid of like even doing a practice essay, because I felt like I don't know the subject, I'm not going to be able to take and do well on an essay. So when I came to DeAndre, I was working, and it was in January, and I didn't even expect to start the program then. I thought I was going to start it in like April. I didn't know about early bar prep, and so I think you guys were 1 week into the program, and so I think I called him on a Sunday, and I started the program literally on Monday, and I immediately started with we started with torts, and I did not want to go through like having to watch lectures again, because I felt like I already did this in Barbary. Like I don't want to watch any lectures. I don't want to have to deal with that. But DeAndre told me, like, he looked at like where my score was, and he was like, okay, it's not great. Like, we have where to go, but like, we'll get you over the hump if you follow the Legally Fit plan. And he said the students that I see that don't succeed are the ones that are stubborn and they don't follow the actual Legally Fit program. And I said, okay, I'm gonna trust him. He sounded confident, so I felt like I'm gonna put my trust in him. Whatever he tells me to do, I'm gonna do it. And so at first we started in January, right? The exam wasn't until July. In February hadn't even started. I think they hadn't taken that test yet. And he told me I was gonna be studying like 30 or 40 hours a week or something like that. And I was like, so you want me to study on the weekend too? Like, I have to just give up my whole life right now. He was like, yes. And then also I was working full time. So I had like flexibility in my work schedule where I could study, like I could actually do a lot of studying, but I didn't know if that would change. And so I didn't want to get to the point where all of a sudden my schedule changes and I only have after 5 p.m. to study. So I went in full time study mode in early bar prep, and I stayed for 6 months, full time. So I thought early bar prep was incredible. I'm so glad that I did it because I kind of felt like I needed that jump start. And I had taken, I wasn't doing bar prep back to back. Like when I didn't pass, I'm not gonna lie, it would crush me. Like you spend so much time studying and they're so disrespectful. You see that one word fail and it just like ruins you. And I would need time sometimes to bounce back and study. I don't necessarily recommend that, but I had taken time away from it for a minute. So starting early bar prep was great. And then right when I watched my first lecture, I was like, oh, this is actually not even hard to get through. Like there are really engaging lectures. The materials to me easy to follow and to understand, but at the same time very thorough. Everything's very organized. They have like the blueprint where you can find all of the explanations and concepts, and your rule statements were just right there. There was no confusion. Like with Barbie, like 3 different resources. I'm like, what rule statement do I use? There's like a 1-to one, there's a paragraph. I'm like, I don't know. And it wasn't like that with Legally Fit. Everything was very clear, easy to follow, but incredibly thorough. Incredibly thorough. So I could go on and on. I don't know if you want me to focus on something else, DeAndre.
No, actually, that was really good, and so like to like some of the takeaways on that was like, yeah, Asha came in January and it was like you said, she wasn't expecting it, but she did basically that like longer approach, right? So for you guys, you can either take July or you can take February, which I think most of us are going to do, but you can maybe start early with your like this self-guided early start, etc. And I think Asha was just again in her case a great example of like setting a plan. Like we have now something that we might as well recall the Kieran, Asha, Chris like 3-step plan that was created for the student that was like, I'm working full time, I have all these time commitments, and how can I create a schedule that sets me up. So I think it's just your individual story that adds to this group is just that like, do I need to take a step back and make a long-term plan, or do I need to take a step back and just make a plan for February? But just that importance of making a plan, sticking to it, and then getting the results. And so yes.
I give a couple. I just wanted to talk about the actual program because it helped me so much. Like I didn't know how to organize my essays before, and I've always been a great writer, right? But I didn't know the bar format and formula, and I learned how to organize my essays properly. I learned like where the points are and where they aren't. I used to go on all these tangents thinking I was like impressing the reader, and I learned like they don't care about that. There's probably no points there. That was really helpful. The essay formula was crucial, and I didn't really understand it for a minute, but once I actually learned it, the part of what you'll learn if you take this program, that was like everything to me. Yeah, the specifics on how much to study, I followed that to a T. I think I fully wrote out 70 essays. Like I did more essays than DeAndre even recommended because I was just terrified. I was like, I want to be done
Love
forever.
that. Love it.
I did almost 2,600 MBEs, and mind you, I was studying for a longer period, but I just did not want, and I did a lot of hours. I just did not want to be. I knew my score would increase when I started the program. I saw how much better I was doing. I knew it would increase, but I didn't want to be that person that was so close but not close enough, And I'll just say quickly, some of my tips are to like leave no stone unturned. Don't give up on a subject and just think like, okay, well, I don't really get comma, but I feel like I know enough. Or like, I don't understand this concept. Like, I kind of get equitable certainty, but I don't really know. Like, don't do that. Like, really, like, work through it, fight through it. If you see it, if it's on an essay, like, try analyzing that concept on an essay, and then try analyzing it on another essay. And if you're still not getting it, like, take a walk and try to like just sort through it, or like connect it to your personal life. Like, I would think of all of these different scenarios in my head that were like funny and engaging to like help me remember the concepts. Like, don't just give up on it because it's hard, and you have, you know, great resources to support you in learning the material. DeAndre and some of the other people on the staff. Get used to feeling uncomfortable. Like I said, I did not want to do practice essays before I started Legally Fit. And if you do this program, you're gonna start doing essays out the gate, but like
Day one.
yeah, right. But don't feel like you like, oh, I have to master the subject before I do an essay. Like, it's gonna feel sticky. It's not gonna feel great, but like that's a great way to learn. So don't be afraid of that. And then don't fall behind. Like, if you're like, oh man, I just got 2 more lectures today, I'm just doing tomorrow. If you do that every day, I'm just doing tomorrow. I'm just doing tomorrow. You're gonna get behind, and there's just so many. Especially if you're studying for 2.5 months or whatever. There's only so many hours you have to study. So don't let yourself just leave any concepts behind because you keep pushing things off. Like, if I was like, okay, I'm exhausted, I can't do this hour lecture, I'd be like, I'm waking up at 6 a.m. I'm gonna finish that lecture so my work for the, you know, is done. So that's all my advice, but you guys got this. I guarantee you, like, if I could do this, you definitely can. There is absolutely success at the end of the tunnel, and some of the decisions that you make will just determine like how long you're still in this dark time. But you will come out of it, and if you take this program, I guarantee you, as long as you have the willpower and you follow the program, you will be successful.
There we go. It looks like, oh, Myra, were you raising your hand, or are you putting up the heart? I see the two came back to back. Okay, maybe Myra was just giving some heart, some love for that message. Yeah. Awesome message, Asha. I just want to like echo that one part of leaving no stone unturned. That, yeah, everybody here, like, I think that's such a great little nugget to take into bar prep. You know, my mindset when I was studying for the bar, again, umpteen years ago, it was like, man, like, I don't understand, you know, 2207. Let's just use that topic. And there's 2 things you can do, like, whatever, it's probably not going to be tested, right? You know, and just kind of move on from it. But you're going to run into that mind state with so many areas of the law, so many activities you have to do, that, as Asha was saying, that I try to now encourage in my students is like, what I did is like, you have to then attack that. Like, you have to then get a hunger for whatever it is that you don't want to do. That's the first thing that I want to do now, right? Because it's typically what we don't want to do that's the most beneficial, right? You don't want to eat your vegetables, but it's the best thing to eat. You don't want to do that practice essay. That's going to be the thing that moves the needle. So you have to then say, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to crush that essay, I'm going to go into it and learn. And as we know, like, doing those are tough because it's so humbling, right? Most times we're going to go into a practice essay and get knocked around a little bit and see what we missed, but we have to sit in that, and we have to be like open to seeing what we're not getting. So then that way, you know, that's why the whole saying is, fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, shame on me. And that's the mindset we have of like, let me get after it and do that. So great message, Asha. Thank you, and congratulations again. Like, yeah, you and Mamta, you guys are both amazing. Thank you for spending time out of your new lawyer lives to come and speak to everybody and give them some messages that, right, that you were in their shoes. And that's what Legally Fit's about. It's what all this is about, right? Like, it's a little bit of both, you know, like, we have what I believe to be the best materials on there that, like, Asha really talked about, of just like how great the materials are, how concise it is, how consistent they are amongst everything that you're going to see. But so much of Legally Fit is that, as a first generation student, as a student of color, as all these different things, of all these different challenges that I felt like existed as well, it was like, there's support that's needed to go through this extremely challenging test. So yeah, with that said, I want to give a quick 2 slides on just like what your options are if you want to go with Legally Fit, and then I'll excuse you all. And again, I'll stick around for more questions if anybody has any. So Catherine, can you please hold that question for me? Let me go through, these 2 sections, and then I'll get to your question. Thank you. So let me hit share screen. Okay, so for February, here are your 2 options. You can do Legally Fit Bar Prep or Legally Fit Bar Prep Plus. So I'll start with Legally Fit Bar Prep Plus because this is really the quintessential Legally Fit experience. This is something that the way that we've been running the program for pretty much the existence of Legally Fit for 10 years. And so what you have here is the live component, the human component, all the extra bells and whistles, that true hybrid approach of a program and a private tutor. So you have live MBE skill building workshops that we do on Zoom. You have live essay writing workshops that we do on Zoom. You have daily and weekly accountability checks. You have access to recent bar passers, right? So you met Mamta, Shelby, Asha today. There's a host of other Legally Fit alum that are committed to the success of those coming in after them that can provide support really on the mental side, but even additional on the law. If you want even somebody to kind of run through some things with, some of them are available for that. There's live weekly mental health check-in sessions. Remember, I was saying this is turning in a little bit to one of our Legally Fit sessions. And so for those that love the kumbaya, those that love the kind of like trust circle of being able to vent through this, get the emotions out, talk through the challenges, we have that space dedicated for those that want to take part of that, which again is a great outlet for those that are dealing with emotions and feelings. And you realize like, I'm not in this alone. And then I do get something that can help push me forward for that next day, that next week, and keep me going through the journey. And then lastly, we have some additional extras and surprises, a part of the Bar Prep Plus program that I wish I could tell you because they're really awesome, but we do a lot of special things and some surprises that it wouldn't be a surprise if I told you, but I can tell you that, with this Bar Prep Plus, we really invest in our students, everybody on the Legally Fit team. You guys passing and this program being successful is of the utmost importance to us. And we do not take it lightly that people are trusting us with their profession, right? With their livelihood. And so we dedicate a lot to you guys to make sure we give you as much as you can, both with the law and the best hypos and the most clear explanations of the law, and also with the support of what we can do to make sure you guys are in the right mind space to be successful. That program is $39.50. Now, the Legally Fit Bar Prep, right, is for those students who are more of the, hey, D, just give me the material. I heard the material is really good. I heard the outlines is amazing. I heard this folder system thing that you use really helps everybody memorize the law, etc. I just want the materials and I want to study on my own. Well, you can do Legally Fit Bar Prep. The price is $2,200. And so that'd be a little bit more resemblant of a traditional program, right? Because you won't be then taking part of the live classes, the live workshops and all those things. But one thing that is still unique that you get that you don't get elsewhere is office hours. So you still have an ability to come in and ask questions. So that is the self-study there. Okay, you can start early with Legally Fit. So if you do want to study in this November time period, but before December starts, as soon as you get a program with us, we can give you your materials early and then get you that early start. And then we were talking, I think we're going to probably plan something for either Monday or Tuesday next week. For all those that want to start early, we can have this little impromptu early orientation just to kind of walk through everybody and where they're at and how they would like to start early and give some guidance. So we plan on doing that on Monday for all those that want to sign up over the weekend and know they want to start early. So if you do, sign up and email us at, hey, I want to be in that group that starts early, and then we'll give you the updates on what we're doing with that group and what informational session we'll be having. All right. Next is private coaching. So we do offer private coaching outside of our program, right? So our program has that kind of hybrid approach where you're going to be meeting with me in the live workshops, there's the office hours, etc. But you can add on private coaching to your program as well. So the benefits of the private coaching are we can help identify your strengths and weaknesses. We can create a personalized attack plan, and we can provide assistance with that weekly execution of your plan. Scheduling, it's flexible scheduling, and it is on a first come first served basis. We don't have a team of 20 tutors, so we do have limited capacity, so it is first come first served. So if you're interested, I would definitely sign up for that sooner than later to make sure you can get a tutor, and the earlier you come, you can get one that fits your schedule, right? Because the time slots would be open, right? And the time slots have now officially opened now that the results have come out. So when you reach out, you can now get those favorable hours. And then lastly, pricing. So either you can do it by session and it's $150 an hour, or you can do bundles, right? A bundle is, I want once a week coaching for the full 10-week program, and then that's discounted to $2,000, or you can do it, I want twice a week, and that's discounted to $4,000. Okay, so I'll stop really quickly there for any quick questions on specifically the Legally Fit program and what we're offering. Make sure that's clear. I saw a couple of hands. So let me see. Hands. All right, first is Abby.
With the coaching, for the plus option, in the beginning of that program, do you guys sit down with us and kind of like analyze our scores so that we can tailor like certain things, or is it just kind of an overview of like what we've seen from the scores and our own understanding from them and how we should tailor and like, you know, build up whatever, focus on whatever areas?
Yeah, so that would essentially be a one-on-one coaching that you could do as a one-off, and we've actually discounted it for this. So what everybody can do, and I'll pull up the slide. I moved it because I moved some things around based off of timing, but we can do a assessment and consultation call, and that is $99. But basically we'll sit down in a one-on-one and go through your scores, and that's all of those sessions are going to be with me. So I'll be going through your scores with you, maybe looking a little bit as a writing sample to see where you're at with your writing, and then from there, once we identify your weaknesses and strengths, we can then go through what your attack plan should be or things to focus on as you move forward. So if you wanted to do a deep dive into your scores, we can do an assessment and consultation, and we'll send the link for you guys all to be able to take advantage of that. And again, that'd be $99. It'll be with me, and we'll do a deep dive going into that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Alex.
Hi, so question, with the plus program and the private coaching, do those like, is there like private coaching with the plus program?
Yes. So you could do, so yeah, you do the plus program, and then you add on twice a week or once a week private coaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those, okay.
So the way that works, right? Typically, right, when a student is doing that, when you're working with a private coach that often, right, then you're creating that then relationship with the coach where we started off to assess where your strengths and weaknesses. And so then as you're going through the program, you're meeting with that coach to then do exercises and then constant guidance and correction as you're going through the program to make sure you're on track all the way throughout to then be successful.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. All right. And then is it Maysoon?
Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Hi. My question is with just the program in general. When we get this, like the books and things, do we get the physical books or is everything online? Because I'm the type of person, I'm hands-on and I like to write in my notes and margins. So I'm just curious about that.
Absolutely. So the program comes with digital, and then Monique runs the logistics behind onboarding for students. Can you remind Monique, what's the price for if you want everything printed and shipped to you?
Off the top of my head, I believe it's $275. That's with shipping.
$275 with shipping. So everything will be digital, and then you can have everything printed, all your blueprints, all your hypos, essays, etc., and then shipped to you, and then it'll be that extra cost. And I will say, Maysoon, that yeah, I'm the same way. And one thing that you can be excited about with the Legally Fit materials is that we made the decision to not really kind of sacrifice cost. We sacrifice cost to have materials that are way more customizable. So one, your materials would be in a binder and 3-hole punch, which costs more, but that way you can move things around to kind of play
Mhm.
with it. Also, we don't cram a bunch of stuff on the paper, so that way you can like write in the margins and add your notes in and things like that. So definitely these are great materials to be able to like that are tangible, get your hands on and customize.
Okay, thanks. I think that's all that I have for right now.
Perfect. Yeah. And then if anybody has any other questions outside of this group setting, like, yeah, please call us and we can answer all your questions that you might have around signing up. Michael?
So just to like, I'm just gonna ask the same question I asked earlier. So after doing Bar Prep Plus and doing like the private coaching, what's like the pass rate for the repeat test takers?
Yeah, so for students who have done our Bar Prep Plus and did the private coaching, I think in the history of that, we've only had maybe like 2 students who have not passed on that initial go round, but then did pass the next time. So we have a very high success rate with in general, but with the Bar Prep Plus and the private coaching, that number is around 90% plus. And really what it is that you're just kind of hitting all angles to make sure you have a good program, but then you have somebody keeping you on track consistently throughout the entire thing. For repeat takers in general, our bar passage rate is 85% for February exam, and that's lifetime. We don't have the numbers just yet for this February. We'll give you guys that, or for those that request it after Sunday, once we can get all the data for who passed. And so, yeah, those are the numbers on that. And I highly recommend for those that can afford and do private coaching, whether it's with Legally Fit or outside, to consider that, because you just get that guidance all the way throughout. So I think those are the 2 stats that you requested, with the coaching and without.
Right. And well, another follow-up question is, for those that were successful with both Bar Prep Plus and the coaching, were they within the 2 groups that you listed, with 25 points away from passing or 50 points away from passing? Or
No,
all 3 groups?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely not. No. So like the range of that is definitely significant. So Mamta, right, was, as she was just in, she didn't do the private coaching, but she came in and did the program, and she went up over 100 points to go on to pass. So we've had the range of over 100 points up to the within 25 points of passing, and the success, right, with all of those.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so and then Catherine, we can take your question now. I'm not sure if it was about the material or something else, but I would love to take your question now.
Yeah, it was about something else. So I am dyslexic and ADD, so my accommodations were denied. So that played a really big part in my failing the exam. And so I was just wondering, I had to work on speed rather than content for
Okay.
like the last month before the bar. So I clearly know where my weaknesses are.
Yep.
And it has to do with processing and speed.
Uh-huh.
But I was just wondering if you guys had any kind of information on how to deal with that when they deny your accommodations, how to prepare.
Yeah, on how to prepare when you don't have, yes. So I thought you were going to say how, if they deny the accommodations, how to maybe dispute that. But you're saying, how do I prepare now knowing that I don't get the accommodations that I want, and how I go about studying? So essentially from that, it's taking our time to figure out like how can we build on our speed and then perform in that situation. So that's definitely going to be something that's like a longer form question and approach that takes time, and that's typically where the private coaching comes into play. But what I can tell you is that we definitely have experience with students with learning disabilities and tailoring the services and tailoring the attack plan to their needs.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, even after the session, if you want to stick around for a little bit, but it really is, it just becomes a part of the overall approach and how we go through. And every scenario with that is really a case by case as to where exactly are the benchmarks for that student and where do they need to improve. So a very personalized question.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. And then last question for now, and then I'll do the outro for us. We'll go to Jose.
Yeah, I just wanted, if you could elaborate a little bit more on the office hours for the bar prep, the standard
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get office hours for both programs. And so what the office hours do is give you an opportunity every week to be able to go in and ask questions, right? So what program did you take last time, Jose?
I was with one timers.
Okay, got it. So that's one of the other potential hybrid. I'm not exactly sure how that course works, but did you have the ability to, on a particular day, go and ask questions?
Well, you had access to the actual to the lecturer, and it was via mobile phone. So,
Got it.
and so it was pretty much at random, really.
So we have a schedule, right? Where it'll be like every Tuesday between 6 and 7, come in office hours and get your questions answered. So that's what the office hours is, like a scheduled weekly time where if while you were studying, you ran into obstacles with the law, or maybe you have a question around the skill of like, hey, like I'm kind of struggling with this, just want to see if I can get a little like quick answer for this, or one-on-one time, honestly, if nobody else is in office hours, that's what that's designed to be, where you can go in and get that, and you have that comfort that it's there at that same time every week.
Now, what's the availability of those hours?
We don't have the hours set for right now, but we try to have at least 2 office hours a week, and then at different times, maybe one in the morning, one in the evening to accommodate the different schedules. But we haven't set the schedule just yet for February.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So let me go through the rest of these slides. So let me go through the timeline. So one thing that I want to invite you guys all to, that's going to be next week, is a bar essay breakdown. And so this is a completely free event that we want to do as a follow-up here. And what we're going to do is take one of the recent California essays, and we're going to break it down, right? And this is going to do multiple things. One, this is going to showcase Legally Fit a little bit more and show you guys how we do things, our lecture style, how we break down the law, things like that. But it's also going to give you a little bit of an insight on maybe where your weaknesses were with that essay, or just moving forward, what you need to be doing. So you might realize maybe my issue spotting was off, or hey, maybe my analysis and my thoroughness is not where it needs to be. So you can maybe even do a little quasi private coaching out of that, right, as we go through this essay together. So we're going to do that on 11/15. Everybody will be emailed the details of that. Out of curiosity, do we have any, I haven't picked which essay we're going to do. I'll let you guys kind of put it in the chat. And if we get anything that becomes the clear favorite, I'll do that particular essay from the July exam. So if you want to do essay number 3, or you remember it by subject, feel free to throw it into the chat, and I'll consider doing that one for next Wednesday. That's Wednesday, right? Let me see, the 11/15. Yeah, Wednesday. All right. And then we start orientation the week of December 4th. And then bar prep actually begins on 12/11. All right, so those are your important dates there. Maysoon?
Oh, I had a question just about the program, but it can wait. It's fine.
Okay, yeah, I'll go through the rest of this, and then for all those that want to stick around for more questions, we'll be here. So key stat number 1, we are successful with repeat takers coming from Barbary, Themis, Kaplan, and one-timers. And so I just want you to know that we have the experience doing that. And I think really something that it's for you to look forward to is that you're going to have a program that really is going to help you understand the law, is really going to show you how to do proper practice to move the needle on your essay performance and on your multiple choice performance. So that's the first one. Number 2, we have seen multiple times 100-point increases in their scores. So I say that to let you know, 1, you're in good hands, and 2, I say that to boost your confidence that if you were more than 100 points away, do not be discouraged, right? Like we have seen people make that jump on the very next exam and go on to pass. So it can be done. It's time to get back in the ring and knock it out. And then we have a 95% pass rate with students who were within 25 points of passing. So for those few that are in that category of just like, man, I was right there, right? 95% passive getting over that hump that very next go around with Legally Fit. All right, success is around the corner. We end this where we started with Muhammad Ali. He was on the mat. He was beat up. He got knocked down. He got back up, started throwing the punches, and we go on to find that success. And that's all that we hope for everybody here, is that we go on to be licensed attorneys, we get past this hurdle, and we know we can do it. And now it's time to just take the next steps and get it done. I want to thank you real quick to the co-sponsors, right? Langston and Black Women Lawyers for putting this event together with us to host this. I can't say enough good things about both of these organizations, and Sarah's here on behalf of Black Women Lawyers. And I think it's just amazing that these associations are investing their time, money, resources, et cetera, into the success of students. Because again, we know how challenging this exam is, and this is not something that all bar associations do. So it's definitely special recognition to them, making an interest to be invested in student success. And please check out their websites. Please get involved with their organizations. They're amazing. They're great ways to network and be connected to, again, that ongoing sense of community and connectivity once you become practicing attorneys.
Yes, and thank you also, DeAndre, so much for continuing to work with us and doing such a great job. And yes, everything he said, absolutely. And we do have law student members, we do have young lawyers, we have a lot of great social activities and other fun things. So, you know, when you're feeling like you've got the time for it and you pass the bar and you're out there ready to celebrate, we got you on that too.
Yes, and they have amazing, exactly, fun events to attend once you are Esquire. And so we have free samples that we're going to email out to you guys for those that are interested in seeing just what those legally fit materials look like, right? As I was talking to, I believe it was Maysoon on, how the materials are spaced out nicely, bright, colorful, easy to read, easy on the eyes. Also, you can get a sense of how well we break down the law. We're going to give you a little mini video on dormant commerce clause, and you can see how we break down that difficult topic. And you're going to see our folder system and how we organize the subjects and things like that. So look out in your email for free samples that we'll be sending to you all after this session. All right. And that's it. Thank you guys for, sticking through this. That was way longer than I think any of us expected. The plan was for it to be about an hour. We really got into the guest speaker talks, and, it was really good. I'm happy we were able to get that in and just kind of, be humans for a second and hear from some people who have been in your shoes and ask them questions. So I hope you guys all appreciated that. Yeah, I'll stick around for any additional questions, but we're here for you in whatever capacity that looks like, whether you want to take our program or you need to just give us an emergency call during, and we'll see what we can do to help you out. We just want all of you guys to be happy and successful through this exam and go on to live your best lives. So thank you guys for sitting through this presentation. I'll talk to most of you guys later, and I'll take any other follow-up questions now. Oh, and then Sarah, you wanted some.
I just wanted to toot DeAndre's horn because this is my third year now as education co-chair, partly because I love working with him so much. And so, while of course we want to respect everybody's time and finish on time, I think some of the times we go over, it's just because of his dedication and commitment to all of you. So I think it's really just a testament to how much he really does genuinely care about the students and how much he does really want to see you all succeed and you all pass. And obviously I echo those same sentiments. So it was really great of you all to come, especially I know on a long weekend for so many of you. But we're really happy that you took the time and you also stuck with us through to the end. And I will go back to DeAndre so we can answer any other final questions you have. Please feel free to stay on and listen as long as you'd like. And if you're need to hop off and get to some other things, we totally understand that too, but we do really appreciate you coming and just, hold your head high. You're not in a small group. There are many people, especially in California, who don't pass the bar on their first time. And it doesn't mean anything about you or how smart you are or, how competent that you are as a person and as you will be as a lawyer. So please, I think part of going in to retake is just as much of a mind game as it is anything else. Like DeAndre said, you have to make sure that you're mentally strong and you're ready to go and you're ready to tackle it. You can't let those dark voices in your head and all those kind of demons get the better of you. Shut those out, tell them to just screw off and and just focus on the light at the end of the tunnel because it is there. So just keep that all in mind. And we are rooting for all of you. So I will hand it to DeAndre for any final questions or anything else you wanted to discuss. And we hope we'll see you at some future session. So keep an eye out for those emails about our future sessions. That'll be in January for those that are in person and LA, and then we're going to have some virtual sessions in May and June for those that are going to be taking the July bar. So
Awesome. All right. I see your comment in the chat, Sarah. You said not the dormant commerce clause. Nah. Don't be putting that energy. You gotta go, yes, dormant commerce clause. Let's go ahead and get after it. Oh man, that was funny. All right. So any follow-up questions, guys, before you guys head out? Yeah, I see some hands. Alex.
Hi, okay, sorry again. I'm just like very overwhelmed because like I think Barbary just kind of set me up to like have a false sense of confidence in this exam, and I like did not do well at all.
Yeah.
Like way over like less than 100 points off mark. And so
Yeah.
now and then but also like I have to balance a job. So I'm like I just don't really know like what to do because I need my job to pay for the course, but then also like the job can be a hindrance to like passing.
Yes. So let me ask you this, if you don't mind sharing, and if you want to talk privately, then we can pick this up privately. Where did you how did you perform in law school?
So first year was I'm like a Zoom law student my first year. So I think a lot of people were like, okay, like they have wanted to be a lawyer for a long time, but I always kind of thought like being a lawyer was a means to an end. So like I just kind of like applied, got into like my top school, like, you know what I mean? But I didn't really do the research I should have done with starting law school. And then everything changes because it's like, while that's usually like my approach to life is just jumping in, it didn't really work because like we had COVID and it was Zoom. So I was like, crap, like I don't really know how to network with people online. So I just kind of felt like there was a void of information. First semester of law school, I got the lowest GPA I have ever like got in my life, which was a 2.7. It's kind of funny now, like I brought it up to like a 3.3 by the end of it, but like a lot of those like fundamental classes were just never
Yeah.
like I never got on top of them. And so it was like I think that was the issue like here.
So that tells me what I need to know of just kind of like, yeah, I wanted to know, was it like I knew all the law very well and then I got to bar prep and it was just too much and I didn't like the program.
Yeah.
But this sounds like there's a little bit of combination. There's a little bit of maybe that with the program, but also like there's still that foundation that really needs to be set. So in your situation, I think this is where either starting off with maybe a consultation of going through your scorecard, then going through some of the work product, and then just kind of sitting down and thinking through it, we can assess, what'll be best. But I think you are in a situation where we have to really kind of come up with a game plan as to what that's going to look like. But considering, right, you're intelligent, you got it into law school, and knowing you personally, I know you went to UCLA, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got into a top school, right? You've shown the intelligence, the ability to get past this. I think you're capable of passing February. It's just a matter of, all right, what does that look like? Do I start if you're going to work, okay, I am going to start early. What am I going to start early doing? And my initial thought process is based off of what you're saying. I think when it comes to the bar exam, step number 1 is understanding the law. Step number 2 is translating it into the essay and the multiple choice. So if step number 1 is not there, it's going to be difficult to add on the skill part. So your early start should be geared towards taking some of those, either 1, mainly tested subjects, or 2, those identified weak subjects, and establishing a foundational understanding. And maybe it's those 1L classes. So maybe you're starting off with contracts and you're spending a whole week on that next week. And then the following week, you're doing property. And now you're having this new experience where I actually understand the law. So then that way, when we get into bar prep, now you can start to implement more of the understanding, but also now the skills on top of that foundation.
Okay. Thank you. That's okay. Thank you,
Yes.
Dion.
So,
Yeah.
and if we want more based off of what I've given on, because I've given you basically all the things that you can put together to create a plan. But if you want to go a step further, then let's consider one of those consultation calls where then I can take everything of your scores, your, everything, and then we could sit down and actually fully map it out together.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Perfect. All right. Let's go. I'm not sure what the order of operation was, so I apologize if I go out of order. JR.
Sorry, I'm on my phone. Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for this. Like it is the worst boat to be in, but there's something cathartic about not paddling it alone.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering, kind of piggybacking off what Alex asked, how do you go about setting up a consult? Because I definitely think that's something I need. I'm somebody that was close enough that I'm a little pissed off at this point. Like I was very, very sad on Thursday, crying. And I'm at the point where I'm getting angry and gonna work myself to the love that Mama was talking about. But
Yeah.
you know, it's a process, but I would love, 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 love to go over it with you because as much as I think having a big box, for lack of a better term, I did Themis, was good for me. I really do think I need like personal feedback, personal guidance. I think that's going to be hopefully the thing to get me over the hump. So long question short. Just how do you go about setting up a consult?
So we'll send emails to everybody as the follow-up email, and in there'll be a link to schedule the consultation call.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will definitely be in touch. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And thank you, JR, for not only asking your question, but sharing all that positivity. And I'm glad you enjoyed the session and the great words from Mamta. So yeah, thank you for coming and thank you for sharing that. Next, Abby.
Hi. So for the program, like us also purchasing like the MBE supplement, I'm guessing Adaptabar. But this is for me personally, I don't know. I guess we're not supposed to talk about, I don't know. Are we supposed to talk about it? The MBE questions on that exam did not look exactly like what I had seen before, and I'm upset about it.
Let's talk
And
about it. Yes.
so I think that is that's what got me. Like, that's what's pissing me off is like, there's no way that I opened that booklet, like, what the fuck is this? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm just a little mad. But so my question is, are those questions going to be released somehow, or like do you know about like if that's the talk about the new next gen? I thought we were in experimental class is what they did with us
Yeah.
with NBE, and if there's a way for us to gear towards if they do those similar questions on February, just so that like we're not restudying the same things like from the past questions and like wasting money or time on Adaptabar again if that's not the same question or format that they're going to be moving forward with, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. All right, so here we go. Number one, the MBE, the most frustrating part of the bar exam. That is the portion of the exam that they do not, Abby, release those questions at all. So every other portion of the exam for every state, they release the essay that they just did, sample answers for the essay that they just did. They release the PT and sample answers for the PT that they just administered. So you have all this recent work product to see and to learn from. Whereas with the MBE, what we have is like over the course of God knows how long, 30, 40 years, periodically they'll release questions that are ones that they're phasing out and not using anymore. And so just I'm giving you a little bit of the context here so you can understand the situation that it is and the philosophy behind why I take the approach that I do. So knowing that we don't have the best practice materials given to us by the bar exam to study for this portion of the exam, what does performance come down to? Performance comes down to one, understanding the law very well. Number two, building the strategy for going through questions, right? So a lot of times students will go through questions in a way where they're letting the right answers speak to them and pop out. We don't want to do that. They're going through questions in a way where they haven't kind of worked on some of the intangible skills like reading comprehension. They haven't worked on critical thinking, process of elimination, avoiding second guessing themselves, all of those things. So my whole approach to improving on the MBE is you need to understand the law. And that's like what Legally Fit hangs its hat on, is that you're going to understand the law better than you thought you could. And it's a real deep understanding that's not just rooted in like, oh, I can memorize the words on a page, but I can actually navigate this area of law in a way that I can critically think around it. And so that I think is what's the best way to prepare for the MBE, considering the questions aren't going to look the same. So you can't be prepared to see what you saw in Adaptabar. You can't be prepared to see exactly what you saw in UWorld. but you use all of that practice as ways to get ready for that moment. And you will see some patterns, right? And you're going to see the areas of law tested, but the format of the question may be different, or the length of the question. There's all these variations that you end up seeing, but it's definitely the intangibles and the comfort with the law that you need to focus on to then perform on that MBE. So now getting into the second part of your question, what should you do? So when you take Legally Fit, here's what you are provided. What I've done in making our materials is that I researched over 3,000 multiple choice questions. And what I did is I extracted the patterns and the heavily tested rules, or excuse me, all the rules that they are testing in those questions that I've seen out of 3,000 practice questions. Those questions are then turned into Legally Fit hypos. Those Legally Fit hypos are presented to you in a way where it simplifies the question so you can hone in on one area of law at a time. So if you've noticed, a lot of questions sometimes they might have the trick in there, or they might have 2 rules or 3 rules that are being tested at the same time. So what I've done is taken out the patterns and really allowed you to kind of go one topic at a time to learn it. So our hypos are going to prepare you for the MBE, and it's going to prepare that deeper understanding. Now, during bar prep, you're going to want to do some traditional MBE practice to practice some of those intangibles, like not letting the best answer pop out to you or not second guessing yourself, etc. So you are going to want to supplement this with either Adaptabar, a UWorld as the 2 popular ones, or there's some other ones out there that I may not be familiar with. Now, when selecting which one, Abby, that you want to choose, it really doesn't matter, right? As long as it's one that is, commercially acceptable. So Adaptabar and UWorld would be the 2 that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's a few others out there as well. Should you use the same one that you used before? You can, or you can use another one if it's going to be better. For example, some people like UWorld because the explanations might have visual aids and things like that, so they like the explanations better. Some people like Adaptabar better because of the tracking of your progress and the algorithms and what they use to navigate through the questions. But what I can tell you is, Abby, that don't expect that there's any source of questions that you can find that are going to better resemble the exam, because everybody's working from the same vantage point that they do not release those questions. So all they can do is essentially, again, what we've done, right, is like look at those questions, study them, and make their own versions of those questions. So yeah, that is the frustrating nature of it. But does that answer all the particular points of your question, Abby?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it would be worth it to get Adaptabar again. Like I did have Themis, so we automatically get UWorld. So I wouldn't have to repay for that, but I just don't know because Adaptabar was paid for through our school program. So I'm not sure if it would make sense to also get Adaptabar again.
You don't have to.
I'm worried about like the MBEs.
Yeah, no. The way I want you to work on your MBEs is going to be through understanding the law better, going through strategy, and then using practice questions to go through, whether that's Adaptabar or UWorld. But you can go either way. Students have taken the same program twice for multiple choice, or they've switched it up. So I think it comes down to, right, maybe like see if you could do a trial or look through a few questions. Because are you saying that you didn't use Adaptabar, or you did use it the last time?
I did use Adaptabar, but I also had UWorld through Themis, so I used both of them, but I used Adaptabar more. But it was just neither of them, like Adaptabar, we just had it paid for. So
Yes.
now as a retaker, I'd have to pay for it myself.
I would just stick with UWorld. I don't think you need to pay for Adaptabar. Like stick with UWorld, use those practice questions, and stick with just one and navigate through that.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Amy?
Hi, DeAndre.
Hey.
Thank you again for hosting this. This was so helpful.
Good. You're welcome.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you kind of about like my personal situation. Like I'm going on my 4th time taking it. However, I'm just staying motivated and positive because each time that I've taken it, I've increased about like 30 points. And I could just be transparent. First time I took it, I was like at 1242. Second time I took it, 1275, and now I'm at like 13. I'm at 1300. So
Nice.
like that's like motivating for me. But when I see people like in the group chat, I think one person was saying that they like decreased, or like people are, they worked just as hard, but then their scores went down. Like, what could that possibly be? because I'm sure they put in the work, but like, is that like a luck thing? But I just wanted to get your point on that.
Yeah. So for the first thing to start with is the arbitrary nature of how this is graded, right? So specifically around the written portion, that you can have two different scores, and it doesn't necessarily represent your actual improvement or decrease. So there's an arbitrary way that it's graded. And then also, Amy, as we know, it's also essentially an arbitrary way that it's tested. You could love your 1L classes, right? Contracts, property, torts, crim law, right? But then you get to the essay and it's testing wills and trusts, business associations, right? Remedy, all these random topics maybe that aren't your favorite. So now you got a lower essay score, but maybe it was just because it didn't happen this go around to test your favorite subjects. So that's a variable as well. And then it's how did you study, right? And then I can tell you straight up that there are times where people are like, yeah, I did the program, I went through it, and then we talk about it, and it's like, well, I actually did not really do the program. Like, I did not do all the practice that I was supposed to do. So sometimes there is a detachment from the reality of what actually putting in all the work looks like. So those are really all the variables. And, for you, like the I guess what I would end with, now you going into this the next time, it's like, yes, you've been making the small increases, right? And so that's good. That shows that like, all right, I can do this. I can increase. And so now you're looking for like, what can be that now more aggressive change, whether that's an aggressive change to your study schedule, whether that's an aggressive change by switching to a different program that's going to accelerate you, whatever that may be. But how can I now make that big jump? Right? I've made these like small jumps. How can I make that big jump? And so let me ask you, for you in those small jumps, were you working during those times that you were slightly increasing?
Yeah, about like part-time work. So similar kind of what I'm doing now. Just, I would love to just not work, but just with bills and just commitments that I have. But that's something to think about. You definitely made me think about like, okay, like if I can like stay away from work and just give it my all, which I would love to, but it's that balance. But then again, I feel like, I've made increase with part-time work. So, I could do this, again. It's just putting in that time, more and more, what more can
Yes.
we do this time around than before?
It's so, and can I assume that you're considering Legally Fit for moving forward for your bar prep?
Yeah, it's between this program and No Bull Bar Prep, honestly.
Okay, cool. I haven't heard of them. So it sounds like another program that is going to be not of one of the normal ones, right? That you're like, all right, hopefully this program is going to take me to the next step. So it sounds like already you're considering a program that, right, should be able to be something different, offer something unique as opposed to a barber theme. So I think that's a good first step. Now, this is what I was saying to like, this is your personal circumstances that, right, in the group session and the time that we have, we can't dive all the way into, but it's, can I have that conversation with my employer of finding out a way of how I can like either take off some time, take off more time, or take off time completely? And I think that's for you, right? And I would look in the mirror and say like, all right, this is my fourth time taking it. Like had I, let's say, left this job or put this job on pause and then went on to pass and then been out of a job and then figured it out, like, do I like how that route went? And like, is that now something that I would want to take now of just, what, I'm going all in, and then just kind of trusting that everything will work out, that I'm going to pass this and then everything's going to work out on the other end. But this is where it does get tricky, right? Because this is life. People have kids, people have mouths to feed, roofs over their house that they have to, keep. So I can never give that full opinion on what one should do. But I do think I like to encourage people to just, have the tough conversations with yourself and have them with your employer as well to really explore that. And don't be afraid to bet on yourself if you are confident that you can do so and be successful. Yeah. So I hope that helps in this conversation. But again, like try to think through some of those things. And if you want to have a further conversation, we can either do a consultation call to even incorporate going through your materials to see even there what your strengths and weaknesses are and things like that. But hopefully I was able to address some of that in this setting.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, Marlon.
Okay, I just had to unmute myself. Yeah, well, first off, thanks for all your advice and telling us all about the program. I really appreciate it.
You're
But
welcome,
my
man.
question is, like, so for me personally, on this last exam, I did very well on the MBEs, and then I did very low on the essays. And so now with what you're talking about in terms of like the time commitment, um, I'm thinking about how much time it would take to correct that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other end of it, I'm couching like, well, if it's gonna take me longer for California, because I do want to be licensed in at least one state. If not here, I'm willing to relocate. You
Yeah.
know, I take my shot in a state that's easier for now, if it's more doable, and then work on my long term with California.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So
So
what exact? So that I hear the idea. What exactly is the question for me?
my question is basically the thing I'm trying to figure out is the time. Can I fix my writing issue in time for February?
Oh,
If
absolutely.
not, I can. Okay.
So the quick answer is yes, right? Like, and that's the crazy part about this, Marlon, is that like there's no verified recipe, right? It comes down to also how coachable are you? Did you play any sports?
Yeah, I played a lot of basketball
Okay,
and then
basketball, right?
track.
Okay, try. Let's use basketball. I'm a basketball player too. We can get a basketball player, right? That comes in. I'm a coach who comes in, and it's like, all right, I want you to be able to play zone. You've never played zone before, so this is what you do. You got to sit in this area, cover this area. You could tell one person that, and then they get it right away, and they start implementing it, and they practice it, and then you can get another person, right? It takes them forever to implement that, or maybe they're fighting the system. Like we see so many different things that can get in the way of somebody being coachable and following advice. So that's number one, is just like, how coachable are you? How much of a tell me what to do, and I'm just gonna repeat that of a person do you identify as? And then outside of that, it's then assessing as well. I mean, when it comes to specifically essay writing, that's really all it is. Because with Legally Fit, I'm going to give you a clear and established formula that we've been using for years, that it's like, if you use it, this is proven to be successful. But again, you'll see, like, sometimes it takes people 4, 5, 6 weeks to finally start doing it. I'm like, look, I've been giving you the formula where you have students that do it starting week 1 and moving forward. So I think that's the answer to that particular question of, can I get my essay writing up? It depends on a little bit of how much time do you have, of course, to dedicate to bar prep, but also how coachable are you? And can you take what's being given to you and implement quickly?
I see. I got you.
All right, cool. All right, Ashley.
Okay, I had to unmute. Sorry. This is
Cool.
more like logistical. My good friend or buddy Marlon, who just spoke, he forwarded me this link. So I know that you said you had some like a free material. So I don't think you'd have my email. How can I get you my email?
So you can put it in the chat right now.
Okay.
I'm better than that. I'm gonna put the RSVP link in there.
Oh,
So
great. And then go through that way.
exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Once-
great. I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right,
That's it.
thank you, Ashley, for sticking around for that question.
Of course.
All right, Maysoon, I think you're the last hand.
Hi. So this was my question earlier. It might be 2 questions, but we'll see. So when I originally started studying for the bar, I went with Barbary, and I had friends that went with Themis, and we noticed that the main difference between the two was that Barbary had longer videos that were like 4 hours at a time that really drained me and everybody else that went with Barbary. And then Themis, they had shorter videos. How does Legally Fit compare to those 2 companies? Do you guys break it up in a similar manner that Themis does, or do you just do one long lecture on each subject like Barbary?
It's probably in the middle. It's not just one long video, and it's not also, I think, Themis, like, yeah, like it ends up being the same total duration, but yet Themis cuts it up into like even small mini ones, and it's not that cut up
Right.
either. So it's like in this like middle ground, honestly, where you'll have like a 30-minute video, a 45-minute video, and the idea is that we encourage students to be able to use the platform to pause, and kind of take your breaks as needed when going through it. So yeah, the way the program works is especially for repeat takers, I want you all to engage with those videos. As Asha was saying, Asha was like, "Oh, do I got to watch the videos again?" But hopefully you'll be in the same position as her and realize that our videos are way easier to go through just because they are just a little bit more engaging and interactive. Even though it's a recording of a live lecture. So you're just getting a little bit of an energy of like, all right, we're learning, as opposed to just like instructor talking to a camera, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like running off rules. That in our lectures, you're actually simultaneously doing hypos out of the hypo book as we're going through it. So
Okay. And then my next question is, once we're done with the subject and then we go through the MBE practice and essay practice, do we return to the subjects at a later time? Not with long videos, but just do we return to it just to go over certain things at any point in the program?
yeah, so the way our program works is, which one did you take?
Originally, or the what I'm gonna do now?
Original, yeah.
Barbary.
Barbary, yeah. So I took Barbary, right? I didn't have Legally Fit, so I took one of those. I took Barbary, and one of the issues that I had with Barbary was that like I was constantly juggling too many classes at once.
Yeah.
That didn't let me really get into understanding one. So I took an approach to simplifying bar prep in my view, which was I want to focus on one subject at a time and really get it. So I can give you a quick overview of how we run through the program. Phase number one is, right, going through all the subjects, and that's the first 7 weeks. And the idea is that you will have a dedicated 3 to 5 days, right, for each subject, depending on the length of that subject. For contracts and property, those are really big, so I do like 5 more, but the average is 3 days per subject. And that's all you're really doing is focusing on that subject at that time. You're not doing contracts lectures in the morning and then torts hypos in the evening. It's when I'm in contracts, I'm learning it, then I'm doing practice essays for it in a concentrated manner, and then I'm doing practice MBE for it in a concentrated manner. In those 7 weeks, on Sundays, those are the days that are dedicated towards any time to reviewing the previous topics that you've done and doing some refresher or doing a mixed set of MBE questions and staying in touch with some of those earlier topics. After you go through the entire 7 weeks of this focus with, you know, those intentional times of review, then we do a mock exam, and that begins phase 2, which is like, all right, where am I at now? After going through all the 7 weeks, this mock exam is not to see if I'm ready to take the exam, but it's to identify what has stuck and what hasn't, both in the law and the skills. Then after the mock exam, you start to then create a tailored approach, essentially from the default schedule that we have, to move forward for those last 3 weeks. And in those last 3 weeks, you will be revisiting every topic either 1 or 2 times. If it's an essay only topic, you'll be revisiting it 1 more time. But if it's an MBE topic, you'll be revisiting it twice in that last 3 weeks. So that's how we've kind of gotten around the whole like balancing the classes and when you do them and revisit them. Was that all clear? That might have been a lot of information.
No, that was clear. I have one last question that's very quick though. Like I said, I went with Barbary, so I didn't have access to UWorld, and my school did provide Adaptabar. So either way, if I wanted to do UWorld or Adaptabar, I'd have to pay for the program right now. What would you suggest would be a better program for me to work with Legally Fit, but using that as a supplement? Because the MBE portion was what I think brought my score down, because my essays were okay. I won't say they're perfect, they were okay. The MBE really tanked my score.
Got you. So you're going to improve on the MBE just by doing the Legally Fit program, understanding the law better. And then we have a whole specific multiple choice strategy. We have multiple choice workshops for each class. So I'll give you that to be excited about. And then as far as which program, both pair well, right? Because at the end of the day, right, the philosophy is this: no source of questions are going to match exactly the bar exam. So I just need a bank of questions to practice these skills that I'm trying to implement, of coming up with the answer myself and critically thinking and testing this newfound understanding of the law that I have to these questions and things like that. So you can go with either one. I'll ask you the question. You said you took Adaptabar. Did you like Adaptabar, or did it leave you feeling like it was okay?
It was all right. I feel like the MBE on the actual exam was nothing like the Adaptable questions, nor like Barbary. But Barbary is also known to test the nuances and not actually similar to like bar questions. So I can't judge it based off that. But Adaptable was okay for me.
So then I would say try UWorld, right? Like I took it, I didn't love it. And what I'm saying is you can't really go wrong with either one. So why not try UWorld to just spice it up, something different, to be studying with something to give you that motivation, like, all right, maybe this will be part of the recipe for success. So I would suggest under your circumstances to go with UWorld, but again, you could go with either one.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. All righty, team. I think that is it. Again, you guys are troopers, right? That was a nice long 2.5 hour session. So I hope I answered all your questions to give you guys some clarity and some motivation to get you ready for this next exam. Don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any additional questions about Legally Fit. And I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. All right. Keep those heads high and get this done. Mamta, see you later. Thank you for coming in. Sarah, I'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
I'm gonna go get some food. I'm starving.
Bye.
See you, Asha. Thank you.
Congrats to you as well.
Let me move this.